Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daisy Williamson, and I have been working in the soil lab this summer with Lauren Umick and Corey Palmer. The name of my experiment is the impacts of prairie restoration on soil nutrients and microbes. So just a little background to begin. Nitrogen is very important. It's everywhere in the atmosphere, in the soil, and it's like a huge part for plant growth. And the two forms of nitrogen that I'm going to be focusing on in my experiment are ammonium and nitrate. Here's just a little diagram of how nitrogen and bacteria kind of interact with each other. You have like bacteria take kind of the degraded stuff, turn it into ammonium, nitrogen, basically ends up with the plant. Something that not a lot of people know is dirt is not just dirt. There are thousands of things inside of dirt. They're little microbes, little critters. It's all working in harmony for the plants and everything. They have their own little ecosystem. It's so cool. So the two questions that I'm asking for this experiment are, what is the effect of prairie restoration on nitrogen in the soil? And what is the effect of prairie restoration on microbial biomass? My two null hypotheses are prairie restoration will have no effect on nitrogen in the soil, and prairie restoration will have no effect on microbial biomass in the soil. So here we have two pictures of the different sides of the chronosequence. We have the old field, which was once a farm and then it was abandoned. And here you can see just grasses. It's actually pretty boring. And then on the other side, we have the exciting picture with the reference remnant site. And that was it was never a farm. And it's kind of like the gold prairie. Whenever researchers do restoration on prairies, the picture on the right side is what they're aiming for. And then we have the different stages in between, the early, the intermediate, and the reference restoration. Early methods, 5 of the 10 soil samples from each of the sites were fumigated with chloroform, which then kills the microbes and then causes them to release the nitrate and the ammonium that they were holding into the soil. Then using a 1 molar KCl solution, the nitrate and ammonium were extracted, and then we used the extractions in spectrophotometer, which you can see here on the pictures. We actually have the wells in the middle. This is the ammonium test. They have like the pretty blues. They were really pretty, the different colors, and the spectrophotometer on the other side. So here are my results. This is a graph of just the ammonium in the soil. This isn't taking account for the microbes in the soil. And based on the error bars here for the old field, early, intermediate, and reference, they pretty much have the same amount of ammonium in the soil. While the reference remnant is a lot lower. The reference remnant was the one that was never a farm. And this information can suggest what is called the farming legacy effect, where since all 4 of those had once been farms, and being farms, farmers, of course, use fertilizer to help improve their plant growth. So the farming legacy effect pretty much states that since they had already had so much fertilizer put on them, it's really hard to get rid of the ammonium that's already in the soil. So that's kind of what we see here, because even with the reference restoration that had over 10 years of restoration, it still has the same amount of ammonium in the soil as the old field did. In conclusion, with regards to the nutrients in the soil, we can accept the null hypothesis because the graph showed that even with as many years as we did with the prairie restoration, it still had the same amount of ammonium in the soil. But in regards to the microbes in the soil, we can reject the null hypothesis because it did show a difference in the soil. All the restoration had actually been a lot lower than what the old field was, which had no restoration in it at all. One thing to say, the reason why this project is so important is because when doing prairie restoration, not everyone considers the soil. Everyone thinks about the plants on top, let's restore the prairie, put native plants in the prairie, but nobody ever looks at the soil underneath, the ammonium and the nitrate. And ammonium and nitrate is really, well, nitrogen in general is really important to the plants. So I want to give a huge thanks to my mentor, Lauren, because she answered all of my questions. I had a lot of annoying questions, like a lot, and the entire soil lab. And I also want to give a thanks to the College First program, Shelly, Ben, and Murphy. Any questions? No? Okay.